Welcome to this explosive breakdown of one of the most talked about moments in daytime television history. Imagine the glitz and glamour of ABC's The View, where sharp-witted co-hosts dissect everything from politics to pop culture with unfiltered candor, on what was supposed to be a routine promotional appearance for his latest cinematic venture, a gritty thriller titled Shadows of the Forgotten, where Nicolas Cage reprises his signature intensity as a tormented detective unraveling a web of corporate corruption, and the atmosphere crackled with unexpected tension. Joy Behar, the veteran firebrand known for her no-holds-barred commentary and Italian-American heritage, sat at the iconic crowned table alongside Whoopi Goldberg, Sunny Hostin, Sarah Haynes, and Alyssa Farah-Griffin. The episode aired just last week, but the ripples are still being felt across social media, with hashtags like #CageVsJoy and #ViewMeltdown trending for days. As the cameras rolled, the conversation kicked off innocently enough, with Whoopi introducing Cage as the one-man earthquake of Hollywood, eliciting chuckles from the live studio audience in New York City. Cage, dressed in a sleek black suit that accentuated his wild mane of hair and piercing eyes, flashed his trademark enigmatic smile, ready to dive into anecdotes about his eclectic career spanning blockbusters like National Treasure to indie gems like Mandy. But beneath the surface politeness, there simmered a powder keg, ignited by a seemingly harmless segue into Cage's early breakout role in the 1987 romantic comedy Moonstruck. Joy, ever the cultural critic with a personal stake in authentic representations, had been vocal in past episodes about her qualms with Hollywood's portrayal of Italian families. And this day, she decided it was time to air them out directly to the man who embodied one of those portrayals. The audience leaned in, sensing the shift from fluff to fireworks, as Joy leaned forward, her signature red glasses perched on her nose, and launched the first salvo with a quip that would soon spiral into chaos. "Nicholas, love the new film, but let's talk Moonstruck, because as an Italian-American, I gotta say, that movie never quite nailed us. And your pizza-making brother, honey, it was more caricature than cannoli." The studio lights seemed to dim for a split second, the audience erupting in a mix of gasps and giggles, while Cage's expression flickered from amusement to something sharper, like a storm cloud gathering over the Hudson. What followed was not just a clash of opinions but a seismic confrontation that exposed the raw underbelly of celebrity interviews, where flattery often masks deeper critiques, and one wrong word can halt an entire production. This wasn't scripted drama, it was live television at its most unpredictable, reminding us why The View has endured for nearly 3 decades, because it thrives on the unvarnished truth, even when it stings. As we delve deeper, we'll unpack the build-up, the blow-by-blow of the exchange, and the fallout that has fans divided, critics buzzing, and Hollywood whispering about blacklists and comebacks. But first, let's rewind to the moments leading up to the eruption, where small talk about Cage's latest project masked the cultural landmines waiting to detonate. Shadows of the Forgotten, directed by the up-and-coming auteur Elena Vasquez, had already garnered rave reviews at TIFF for its blend of noir aesthetics and Cage's unhinged vulnerability, drawing comparisons to his iconic turn in Leaving Las Vegas. The panelists had primed the pump with praise, Sunny gushing over the film's social commentary on forgotten communities, Sarah highlighting the heart-pounding chase sequences that left her breathless. Cage, gracious as ever, shared behind-the-scenes tidbits of how he improvised a monologue inspired by his personal collection of rare comics, infusing the character with layers of manic energy that only he could muster. Laughter flowed, applause punctuated his tales, and for a fleeting moment, it felt like the perfect synergy of star power and savvy hosting. Then, Whoopi, ever the maestro, steered toward legacy. "Nick, you've got this wild range from vampires in Interview with the Vampire to ghosts in Ghost Rider, but that early magic in Moonstruck, opposite Cher, iconic." The audience cheered, memories of the Oscar-winning rom-com flooding the room, its tale of love, family, and fate among Brooklyn's Italian enclave still resonating decades later. Cage nodded, reminiscing about his youthful naivety on set, how Olympia Dukakis's mentorship shaped his craft. But Joy's eyes narrowed behind her glasses, her mind clearly elsewhere, perhaps on her own family's Sunday gravy traditions or the stereotypes that plagued Italian portrayals from The Sopranos to Jersey Shore. she interjected smoothly, her voice laced with that signature Brooklyn edge. Iconic, sure, but let's be real, who here thinks Moonstruck got Italian culture right? The yelling, the gestures, the over-the-top passions, it was fun, but it fed into every trope we've been fighting since Fellini. The table fell into a brief hush, Whoopi raising an eyebrow, Cher shifting uncomfortably. Cage, caught off guard, chuckled politely at first, but his jaw tightened imperceptibly. Joy, I appreciate the honesty, he replied, his voice a low rumble, but I poured my soul into that role Leah drew from real Brooklyn stories my uncle told me. It was a gentle defense, but Joy, sensing an opening, doubled down. Soul, yes, but caricatured soul. Your character smashing plates and chasing Cher like a lovesick bull. Adorable on screen, but off. It makes us look like emotional volcanoes. I love you, Nick, but that performance, it grated. The audience murmured, some nodding in agreement, others wide-eyed at the audacity. What started as a cultural critique morphed into a personal affront, and Cage's eyes flashed with that Cagean intensity, the same fire that made Face Off a thrill ride. Grated, Joy, with all due respect, maybe you should try acting sometime before judging a 22-year-old kid's work, he shot back, his tone sharpening like a knife edge. The co-hosts froze, Sunny's hand hovered over her coffee mug, Alyssa's mouth formed a silent O. Whoopi attempted to pivot a hey, let's talk about your new film's twists. But the damage was done. Joy, unflinching, leaned in closer. Oh, honey, I've judged worse, and survived. But if Moonstruck's your pride, fine, you just don't expect every Italian nonna to applaud. The exchange escalated, words flying like confetti at a chaotic wedding, until Cage's face reddened, his fist clenching on the table. This isn't a debate club, Joy, it's an interview. If you hate my work so much, why book me? The audience gasped collectively, the energy in the studio shifting from electric to explosive. Producers in the control room scrambled, whispers of cut to commercial buzzing through headsets, but Whoopi held the fort, her moderator instincts kicking in. Yet, before any break could be called, Joy delivered the line that would become meme fodder, because sometimes, Nick, we drag icons to keep it relevant, and yours, it's overdue for a Polish. Cage stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor like nails on a chalkboard, microphone still clipped to his lapel amplifying the thud. Enough, I'm out of this isn't discussion, it's ambush. He stormed toward the exit, pausing only to mutter, tell your audience the truth. Hollywood's full of critics who couldn't act their way out of a paper bag. The live feed captured every second, the panelists stunned into silence as stagehands rushed in. Joy, for her part, looked momentarily triumphant, then concerned, calling after him, Nick, duh, it's just talk. But he was gone, the heavy studio door slamming shut behind him. In that instant, the show didn't just pause, it teetered on the brink of cancellation, with executives upstairs debating whether to pull the plug entirely. What unfolded next would redefine live TV boundaries, turning a morning chat into a masterclass in unscripted drama. As the dust settled, or rather, as the confetti of controversy swirled, we saw the human side of fame, egos bruised, lines crossed, and apologies pending. But let's not rush ahead, there's so much more to this saga, from the immediate aftermath to the cultural reckonings it sparked. The immediate aftermath of Nicolas Cage's abrupt exit from The View was nothing short of pandemonium, a whirlwind of frantic gestures, whispered apologies, and a studio audience left dangling on the edge of their seats, buzzing with the kind of energy usually reserved for WrestleMania main events. As the door's echo faded, Whoopi Goldberg, the unflappable anchor of this chaotic ship, slammed her hand lightly on the table, not in anger, but to reclaim the narrative, her voice booming with that authoritative timbre honed from years of moderating the unmoderatable. Okay, folks, hold on to your hot topics because that just happened, and we're not sweeping it under the rug, she declared, turning to Joy with a mix of sisterly sternness and wry amusement. The camera panned across the panel. Sunny Hostin, the legal eagle with a penchant for measured takes, buried her face in her hands, muttering something about PR nightmares in the making, while Sarah Haynes, the perpetual optimist, waved her arms as if trying to fan away the awkwardness, pleading, Joy, Nick, Come back, let's hug it out. Alyssa Fair-Griffin, the conservative voice often caught in the crossfire, simply stared at her water glass, ice cubes clinking like tiny alarm bells. Joy Behar, the epicenter of the storm, sat back with a defiant tilt to her chin, her lips pursed in that telltale way that screamed "I stand by every word," but her eyes betrayed a flicker of regret, the kind that comes when you've lobbed a grenade into a room full of mirrors. The audience, a diverse tapestry of New Yorkers from soccer moms to silver-haired theater buffs, erupted into a cacophony of reactions, cheers from those who relished the raw authenticity, boos from Cage loyalists waving foam fingers emblazoned with "National Treasure Forever," and a smattering of awkward applause that petered out like a deflating balloon. Backstage, chaos reigned supreme. Producers, their faces flushed under the harsh fluorescents, huddled around monitors, one barking into a phone, "Get me ABC Legalized," while another dashed after Cage with a tablet full of damage control scripts. The man himself, Nicolas Cage to the world, strode down the dimly lit hallway, his polished loafers echoing like thunderclaps, crew members parting like the Red Sea. He paused at the green room, grabbing his vintage leather jacket, the one from his face, off days, rumor has it, and for a split second, vulnerability cracked his armor. A deep breath, shoulders slumping, before he pushed through the exit doors into the bustling Manhattan streets, paparazzi already swarming like vultures scenting blood. Meanwhile, in the control booth, the director called for an emergency commercial break, but not before capturing Joy's impromptu mea culpa attempt. "Wait, Nick, it was a joke, yeah, mostly. Your work's brilliant, it's the tropes I hate." Her words trailed off into the ether, swallowed by the slam. When the show returned, the set felt smaller, the air thicker, as Whoopi pivoted masterfully to a pre-recorded segment on fall fashion trends. But the elephant in the room, or rather, the ghost of Kaguya, was impossible to ignore. Social media ignited instantaneously. Twitter, or X, as it's now branded, lit up with real-time reactions, clips of the clash going viral faster than a cat video on steroids. #Joy Behar drag trending alongside #Nicolas Cage exit, with fans dissecting every micro-expression. "Did you see Nick side witch? That's leaving Las Vegas level hurt," tweeted one superfan, while another quipped, "Joy just moonstruck Cage's ego smash." Memes proliferated to photoshopped images of Cage hurling pizzas at the panel, or Joy donning Cher's widow's veil with a speech bubble reading snap out of it. Late-night hosts smelled blood in the water. Jimmy Fallon prepared a desk flip parody, Stephen Colbert a monologue riff on Italian stereotypes from lasagna to lunacy. But beneath the humor lurked deeper questions. Was Joy's critique fair game in an era of cultural sensitivity, or had she crossed into personal attack territory? Cage, no stranger to controversy from his infamous auction of a $276,000 dinosaur skull to his passionate defenses of artistic freedom, released a cryptic Instagram story hours later, a black and white still from Moonstruck, captioned, "Passion isn't a trope, it's the pulse of life." Grigi, Italia, subtle shade or sincere reflection? Interpretations abounded. Back on The View, as the episode wrapped, Joy addressed the camera directly, her voice softening from brassy to reflective. "Look, I adore Nico, he's a national treasure, pun intended, but representation matters, especially when you're waving the flag for my people. If I hurt him, that's on me. Let's talk it out next time." The audience, warming to her candor, offered a forgiving round of applause, but the wound was fresh. Executives at ABC, no doubt nursing headaches in glass-walled offices overlooking Times Square, convened an emergency meeting. Pull the full episode, edit out the clash for syndication, or lean in, turning infamy into infotainment. The decision to air unedited was bold, banking on the old adage that bad buzz is better than no buzz. Ratings for the following day spiked 40%, proving the gamble paid off, but at what cost to interpersonal dynamics? Cage, retreating to his Las Vegas compound complete with a private movie theater screening his entire filmography, a declined comment initially, letting his silence speak volumes. Whispers from his camp suggested a potential lawsuit for hostile work environment, though insiders dismissed it as posturing. Joy, fielding calls from her agent and daughters, poured a pre-dinner Chianti, toasting to surviving another View vivisection. Yet, As night fell over the city that never sleeps, the incident lingered like cigar smoke in a speakeasy, prompting reflections on the tightrope walk of celebrity journalism. How do you honor a guest while holding a mirror to their legacy? When does critique become cruelty? And in the Coliseum of live TV, who wields the saw to host or honoree? This clash wasn't just about Moonstruck's merits, it was a microcosm of broader Hollywood reckonings. From Oscars so white to the push for authentic voices in storytelling. As we move forward in this script, we'll explore the personal backstories fueling the fire, delving into Joy's lifelong advocacy for Italian nuance and Cage's evolution from Coppola nephew to Cage-rattling iconoclast. But for now, picture the quiet moments post-storm, Joy rehearsing her on-air apology, Cage queuing up old family reels of his Sicilian roots, both grappling with the unintended intimacy of public personas. It's a reminder that behind every zinger lies a human heart, beating wildly under studio lights. To truly grasp the volcanic undercurrents of this View showdown, we must peel back the layers of Joy Behar and Nicolas Cage's storied paths, two titans of their trades whose trajectories intersected in a perfect storm of passion and provocation. Josephine Victoria Akiudo, born in 1942 in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, a neighborhood pulsating with the aromas of garlic and espresso from Corner Delisa, grew up in a tight-knit Italian-American clan where Sunday dinners were sacred rituals of raucous debate and unwavering loyalty. Joy, as she became known, channeled that feisty spirit into a career defying norms, a high school English teacher turned stand-up comic, landing on The View in 1997 as its liberal lightning rod. Over 27 seasons, with a brief hiatus, she skewered presidents, championed women's rights, and become the aunt you'd love to argue with at Thanksgiving. A blunt, brilliant, and unapologetically opinionated, her critiques of media portrayals stem from lived experience, as she once shared in her memoir, When Good Kids Go Bad. Hollywood's Italians were often mobsters or meatballs, reducing vibrant heritages to punchlines. Moonstruck, for all its charm, hit a nerve via its boisterous family scenes, echoing the very exaggerations that made her grandmother's friends roll their eyes at the screen. Joy's not one to mince marinara. She's called out everything from Lady Gaga's accent in House of Gucci to the endless Godfather reboots, arguing for stories told by those who live them. Enter Nicolas Cage, born Nicholas Kim Coppola in 1964 in Long Beach, California, to a family tree branching with Hollywood royalty and nephew to Francis Ford Coppola, cousin to Sofia. But he forged his path with deliberate eccentricity, changing his surname to honor composer John Cage and Superman's Luke Cage, symbols of reinvention. From his screen debut in Fast Times at Ridgemont High to the Oscar-winning depths of Leaving Las Vegas, Cage embodies controlled chaos, blending method madness with blockbuster bombast. Moonstruck was his launchpad at 23, a role he snagged after impressing Cher with raw vulnerability during auditions. He immersed himself in Brooklyn's Little Italy, shadowing bakers and butchers to capture the fervor of Ronnie Cameri, the one-handed baker whose rage-fueled romance steals scenes. Critics hailed it as breakout brilliance, but for Cage, it was personally a nod to his Italian paternal grandparents' immigrant tales of love amid hardship. Fast forward to 2025, and Cage at 61 is a phoenix in perpetual rise, post-bankruptcy rebirth with hits like Pig and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, where he lampooned his own larger-than-life persona. His promotional tour Foreshadows of the Forgotten was meant to showcase maturity, discussing themes of redemption that mirror his life's serpentine turns. 4 marriages, a son with autism advocacy at heart, and a collector's zeal for oddities like Shrunken Heads and Stolen Declaration of Independence replicas. Yet, beneath the charisma lurks a sensitivity to legacy. Cage has railed against typecasting in interviews, decrying how early roles pigeonholed him as the weird uncle of cinema. When Joy lobbed her Moonstruck grenade, it wasn't just film critique, it struck at the foundation of his breakout, reopening old wounds from directors who dismissed his intensity as overacting. Joy, conversely, saw it as extending an olive branch wrapped in barbed wire, her Italian pride demanding better, even if it meant pricking a peer. Their clash wasn't random, it was generational, cultural, and craft-born. Joy, 82 and battle-hardened, represents the old guard unafraid of cancellation, her humorous shield forged in comedy clubs where hecklers were daily bred. Cage, the eternal outsider, channels emotions too vast for sound bites. His defense is swift as a snake strike. Pre-show chatter hinted at friction. Word from makeup artists suggested Cage was chatty but guarded, while Joy quipped to producers, "If he brings up Moonstruck, I'm ready with my canna-like cannon." The green room exchange was cordial as shared laughs over espresso, Cage gifting Joy a signed pig postura, but as seats filled, anticipation built like thunderheads. During the opening monologue, Whoopi name-dropped Cage's new film alongside teases of legacy looks, unwittingly setting the stage. As the interview unfolded, Joy's interjections started subtle, a raised eyebrow at Cage's Vegas anecdotes, a sidelong glance when he praised Cher's fiery spirit. Then, the pivot to Moonstruck via Whoopi's prompt unleashed the torrent. Joy's delivery, a half jest, half jabba, was vintage Behar, but in the live glare, it landed like a Led Zeppelin. Cage's retort, laced with that gravelly timbre, escalated the stakes, transforming banter into battle. Co-host dynamics amplified the drama, Sunny's attempts at mediation, both valid points. A representation evolves. Sarah's wide-eyed facilitation, tell us more about the Baker role. Alyssa's neutral buffering, Nick, your range is unmatched. Whoopi, the ringmaster, juggled keywords to diffuse, but the fuse was lit. Post-exit, personal reflections poured out in private circles. Joy confided to friends over gelato that night, "I didn't mean to bulldoze the boy, he's got heart, like my late husband." But silence on Stereotypes, that's complicity. Cage, unwinding with a midnight screening of his own, texted his director Vasquez, "Reminds me why I fight for every frame, a truth over tropes." Their shared Italian threads, a Joy's Uta roots tracing to Colabria. Cage's Coppola line to Sicilia made the rift poignant, a family feud writ large. Yet, it underscored a truth: progress demands discomfort. As backlash brewed online, supporters rallied to petitions for Joy's brave stand, fan art of Cage as a plate-smashing gladiator. Late-night calls between agents hinted at reconciliation, a joint op-ed, a follow-up appearance, but egos, like vintage wines, need time to mellow. This personal prelude sets the scene for the broader implications, where one table talk ripples into reckonings on respect, race, and representation in Tinseltown.